roster, but
stuck it out.
There's still history.
Yeah.
The team name is still a miracle, and until that's not the case, we have to talk about the history. Looks like we got maps ready already here. It's going to be Dragonshire.
Okay.
Another miracle pick.
Exactly. Yeah, they are consistently going for the map picks. And, I can't say it's always worked out for them, but, they do seem to have the ability to bring it back. Now, can they turn it around and take this last game? They've done it before, which sounds like such a crazy thing to say against Gen.G, a team that was just undefeated for so long. Last split, Miracle took them down. Now, they're coming up against a Gen.G that just finished being the first team to win an Eastern Clash undefeated, looking stronger than ever, and they're still taking them to a Game 5.
They are indeed. History repeats itself. And you can see, if you look very carefully down the bottom of your screen, or you saw, rather, because you can't see anymore, Noble S is behind the team, right? He's considered one of the biggest brains in Heroes of the Storm esports. We'll see the Rainer come through. He has so much experience. He is a world champion, and he's been out of the game for a while as a professional player, but he's considered to be the most knowledgeable coach that exists in this game. And even he cannot find the answers to what Miracle is doing here in draft. And it's been, with the exception of the Stitches Medivh tonight, fairly standard. The Rainer pick we saw in Towers of Doom, controlling that Bell Tower, minimizing the damage Leeming did in the early game. They did it all right. We will see Phoenix as the choice again here for DPS early on. Judy gets his Garrosh, and it'll be the second time he gets that. He won with it on BOE.
I like to see that that Gen.G has prioritized taking away that Anu Barak. You never want to let that, what happened in Game 4 happen again. But the first pick, Rainer, back when the rework came through for Rainer, a lot of teams were just like, oh, he's really good in Hero League, so we have to prioritize him. And then teams were like, well, if you first pick him, we can just draft a whole bunch of CC, and you're never really going to get a chance to do anything. So I want to see if Miracle want to kind of make that their win condition, just really limiting Rainer's effectiveness, or if they have something else in mind.
That's a really good point, because it's a callback to the last time they met each other as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so relevant here because this is Rich's opportunity for redemption on this Rainer to get revenge for his defeats when he was allowed to pick it and was countered in the previous series. So it's a really good thing you bring up. Talking about CC, so far we had the Garrosh, now we have Deckard Cain. And not only is it Deckard Cain, but it's Deckard Cain with the Leeming in the mix. So Stay a While and Listen can lead to insane combos. Even though it's so tempting to pick Lornado in this case against Rainer, and of course the White Mane, we may just see the sleep for blow-up purposes for those massive resets.
Yeah, it turns out if you don't move, then the geometry for Leeming becomes a lot easier. But, actually going to be going with the Zeratul. We saw this actually very heavily. Every once in a while, you'll just see like that random Zeratul ban come through, and you're like, oh, well, it's kind of for spots like this.
A lot of mobility with this. Not a lot of lockdown on the side of Miracle. We'll take the Malthael at the end.
Okay. I at least am not super used to seeing Malthael. I've seen it a couple times, mostly in that the Nano Malthael comp that just did not work at all. So that was maybe the most iconic time I've seen it lately. But
Malthael will crush the top lane matchup against Kyocha. So you're going to limit Kyocha's ability to just run between lanes and soak because he will always be under threat of kills. The problem is they're running it into his Zeratul. So if you are pushing the lane really hard, you always run that risk of getting caught by a Zeratul. Malthael doesn't have a consistent ability to escape.
Right.
He can jump to a minion that's very close to him, but he cannot do it. He cannot bounce all the way back behind a wall or anything like that. So the Malthael pick is probably, with a Deckard Cain as a support, probably going to be for last right. So probably to either finish off Rainer, help to finish him off, or to kill the Muradin that's in the front line. So that therefore, right afterwards, they can finish, once there's no front line protecting a Rainer, get in there and kill him. It's a very risky pick, and they've even put Rich on the Zeratul, so no redemption story for the Rainer anymore. Resets on Rainer, which has been a growing trend recently, and Rich will be on the Zeratul. So one of his most famous heroes when the game first came out, when he was still the offlaner, 2015, Rich Zeratul, always banned, permabanned in OGN Super League. 3 years later, he's playing it here, and he's going to have to play Godlike to prevent their second loss this season to the same squad. A miracle.
I mean, we say history repeats itself. We should maybe say it resets itself here. I hope so. I mean, Gen.G are trying to do that, right? They do not want to repeat the history that they have here against Miracle, one of the only teams in the world that has been able to defeat them in a best-of-5. So we'll see if they can do it. You're going to see the dispersion from the mid lane, so not just going to have our big 5v5 for much longer, and an early start to that push there.
Look at this.
In the top lane.
Look at this rotation. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You overextend in lane because you know you have the winning matchup. Rotation comes onto you, and you get picked. Nitrogen barely surviving here, but they're going to maybe almost be able to turn this, I thought, with Judy coming over.
I thought Judy was going to be the turnaround, right? But he decides to back off. And maybe that's still the right call. It's unfortunate that, yeah, like you said, Malthael does get picked for overextending in lane, but you don't want to try to commit further afterwards and then wind up giving away more.
And what's cool about this, too, is Frankel, because he's playing Li Ming, can actually gain value if this rotation goes poorly, for example. Let's say, not that Gen.G ends up losing members, like it looked like might have happened there, but they end up failing to get the pick, and then they have 4 members in the top lane, or 3 and 1 in mid, but no one's bottom. Then you have Li Ming hitting, slamming into that wall with missiles and orbs, and that adds up. That's so powerful in the early game on any map, especially this one. 4-man is so important to control this bottom shrine. It could be big. The gank went well. Li Ming couldn't actually extend further into the lane to actually get that. The wave wasn't cleared, so because everyone rotated up to defend. So just one reason why this is a smart play to pick this Malthael and try to bait out some of these ganks. They have the channel at the moment, but the Unleash is not going to be possible. Rich being missing, though, I think they know this. They're just going to push this lane really hard, and eventually someone's going to have to respond, or they're losing out big time. Meanwhile, Raynor in the bot lane having a bad time.
Yeah. Oh, and especially with a night camp, right? That's going to make it harder for Blaze to clear. It's going to require more members of Gen.G to rotate up. And so it demands that they come up here. And meanwhile, Miracle are totally fine with this. They're not at any risk. They're able to still break down the wall for the most part. Only one cannon tower left up. And everything is just really going their way after losing that early pick.
Yeah. Frankel tried to beta a gank down here, beta situation where we'd see the rotation from Judy and they'd get a kill, but it didn't work out. Just a small thing I wanted to point out. But yeah, I mean, they win this super hard. Like, this is a huge trade up for Miracle, and they're using the power of Malthael in a lot of ways to set this up. Because if you leave Malthael to his own devices, he becomes such an unstoppable force. You really have to play around that, and because Gen.G Miracle's already had the next step of the plan. Like, again, they scout, oh, look at this big rotation up. It's so obvious that the counter to Malthael in a lot of ways is to gank him repeatedly, but because that we've lived in this world where this has happened so many times, and there's history for this, Miracle knows how to have the next step, the next play in motion.
So great. I mean, it's like chess. You're just thinking one more step ahead. Look at that flip on a Tiss. He's going to toss himself back to safety, but it's not safe enough, and he goes down. A big pick for Miracle. I don't know. I can't say it enough. They are just really playing this correctly every step of the way.
So they're going to try to make this into a Dragon Knight instead of getting massive value at a Li Ming mid. And I think this might not have been the most optimal way to deal with this pick, because Tiss has already respawned now, and they are going to get the channel, but the Unleash is going to be the challenge with lots of interrupts available. In fact, holding this top shrine is not even going to allow them. They're trying to hold this. They're not even going to be able to do that. Because they can't get it because Rich rotates up. Still, it's a big win for them, and with Li Ming, as I mentioned, you can kind of chunk down these walls. They're going to take the neutral camp. But I feel like this could have been bigger for them. I feel like they could have gotten a larger experience lead.
If they just played to their advantage.
Yeah.
Chunk down the wall, take it out.
Instead of trying to without a global, be like, wow, we'll just take the Dragon Knight now. But
yeah, and it is those objectives in which their lead exists, right? The experience is basically even, just a little off, a slightly faster 8 there for Gen.G. It really matter, but their advantage comes from the objectives.
They're 4-man in bottom, and Kyocha, again, surprise, surprise, is rotating between lanes. He's the reason why they're so even in experience still. Despite that loss, Judy's got a lot of armor.
Yeah, but he has no help. And 1v4s are not generally Garrosh's forte. So he gets picked off, and that means this push is totally neutered. Miracle have to back out of here. And Tist coming in here is really going to enable Rich, playing very, very far forward. Frankel
Gets that shield. He's gonna be
Narrowly
fine.
able to survive.
So this is actually huge for Miracle because they had in the mid lane the entire time that push. So Sniper was able to do massive damage during that. Nitrogen's taken the top bell tower eventually because you leave Malthael with a Blaze for long enough, and Blaze is not going to win that exchange. So as you can see here, it's just he's trying to like burn him down, and Nitrogen's like, well, I can press Q. So what do you think about that?
He's just like, let me hit the wave just a little bit, please. And
that failed invade that led to this camp being taken gets Gen.G only a little bit of damage compared to...
He's waiting out there. I'm not sure.
Oh, interrupted.
Did he cancel? Yeah, I guess he did interrupt that.
This is a big problem.
And going from bad to worse here, Rich knows he can escape, but Tiss can't. He's out of there. And that's a big pick here for Miracle as they now find 5 up top. And, they're not going to stay there to commit to the push, but, I mean, that is a big pick.
It certainly is. And this is going to be, look at that, Leeming Orb. Goodbye, wall.
Yep.
It's crazy, like, when Leeming first came out, she was super overtuned. Everyone's like, it's so broken that she could just hit walls, and then they nerfed her a lot, and everyone stopped talking about it. But even years later now, it's like, well, actually, she's still quite strong. I don't know if this is a fight Gen.G should be taking. They have the bunker, and that's going to get them to pick on the Nacho Gen, but where do they go from here? Leeming is here, but she's hiding. They don't want Gen.G to know that she is, in fact, here. That was weird, and I think that Miracle kind of choked a little bit on that moment, but Gen.G wins out the trade. Taunt used, though.
Yeah, can they turn her back around? There's Stay a While, but it's actually a little bit after the fact.
Perfectly done, though.
Yeah, they do still get that, and here comes
There's
Frankel. Trying to find a reset. I don't know. Look at that scroll, though. Oh, my God. The scroll of ceiling breaking through, and even Tist is going to go down here. Q to slow him down. There's the second scroll, as if you needed another one.
Blue Beetle is just such a good player, man. He empowered all of this. Meanwhile, Reset was pushing mid, and he's actually...
Oh, no. Sniper? Okay, yeah.
He may still get him, but I don't know if it's worth it.
Oh, Reset.
That's going to be the first Dragon Knight of the game, 7.5 minutes in.
Look at these combos. Like, I mean, Reset's in a bad spot, right? But just the way that they catch him just makes it look even more significant. And
I don't know if they get this.
Nope. They cannot finish the channel. A good recap there by Rich. So he does kind of save things and prevent, the biggest loss there. But that's still a huge win for Miracle. They have a level advantage that's going to kick them to 13 first and make maybe their second attempt at this Dragon Knight success.
And honestly, Rapid, I feel like Gen.G's macro prowess is really showing through in this series. Despite the fact that they're down in this game, they're not as down in experience as you would have a normal team be at this stage. They are keeping this competitive. They're keeping waves pushed top. They're making sure they control these shrines. There's a limit to what you could do with your macro ability when you are behind like this, so the Dragon Knight will eventually come through. But, it's just one of those things I want to point out. So an impressive feat.
And I'm glad you did, because we can watch individual fights be won by Miracle. Maybe they get these little tiny advantages, but the power of having a prowess in the macro means that the longer the game goes, the better your chances are of being able to just eke your way back into it, even if you take big hits early on.
And it's so true. And when you look at Gen.G, look at this Dragon Knight. What has it been able to accomplish? Virtually nothing. Sure, it forced a reaction, which led to a top wall, but that is literally it. This Dragon Knight practically might as well have not even happened in a lot of ways. See the kick there. He's finally going to get a few hits off onto this bottom fort. He has the wave push there, so I think they will probably eventually get the fort down with Frankel here on Leeming. It's certainly going to happen. But this could have been more disastrous. Good crisis management again from Gen.G. Down a talent tier. They really minimized the effect of the game's first Dragon Knight.
They did minimize that, but it still was basically effective. The experience lead grows for Miracle. They have that, one-ish level lead. And, they will still have that until Gen.G can find another macro advantage to take on the map. So, where do they go? Right back up mid, more pressure on a Nacho Gen. And they're positioning themselves so that if Miracle rotate, the least little bit sloppily, they can find a pick that might be able to give them a way back in the game.
Okay, Tist here going to have to use Avatar. He's doing everything he intended to, though, with this to slow them down from collapsing. But is it going to be enough? That's the question.
narrowly avoids getting caught out there by that scroll, but still cube catching Rich, slowing him down. Judy maybe a little bit ambitious, but he's got that armor basically indestructible. There's the VP coming through to lock that down.
Huge save! Nacho alive!
Nacho Jin does go down eventually, but his lease on life was extended for so long.
Okay, this is the scary part, though, because Li Ming can get resets if this goes poorly, but it's just too much healing here for Whitemane, and Gen.G will win the fight. Bunker is everything in this fight. It's the reason why they win this, because Nacho Jin living there after the Void Prison isolated him, which is how Void Prison is supposed to be used at the highest level, which Rich certainly did. Speaking of high levels, be careful about that.
Yeah,
they're under fort here.
Yeah, reset pretty low.
Oh!
So sick!
Frankel sets it up with a wave of force, gets to the combo, and this is one of the reasons why I was saying last game that we almost never see disintegration anymore, because this is, at this level of play now, what you see
is what you get. Here we go. I finished
Damn,
that
was a showcasing of some mechanics right there. Frankel's like, oh, you came on my fort?
Li Ming, by the way, I mean, what an incredible play there by Franklin. You know, I know it's not the top keep, but still an overextension by Gen.G, not respecting that Miracle have badasses on their team. Like, you gotta put some respect on that name.
That's right. Well, 16 is up here now for Miracle, faster than Gen.G after that turnaround, which was quite the twist in this game, you could say.
That's true, as most turnarounds are, Will.
Yes. Rich is spotted in the bot lane. They know he's there. But there are not enough members here yet for Miracle. They're rotating up now. Good stuns here. Mouthdale has no way to get out of the self-cleanse.
Yeah.
He barely lives through it. Bunker's too early here.
Yeah,
this is a really bad spot for Gen.G.
Stay
Need to be
a while,
careful.
slowing their retreat.
There's the taunt.
Being a big frontliner here, but Nacho Jin might even get a chance to come back in. The answer to that is, of
Frankel.
course, no. He goes down, but still, it's a 1-for-1 so far. And Frankel, look at him getting up close and personal. And here come the kills right on through. 2 more for Li Ming, and Gen.G have to get out of there. They give up the shrine and lose the fight.
Rich is just trying to split push right now, try to split soak, I should say, more than anything else. He's going to, you know, threaten this cannon tower. Meanwhile, this that he was trying to clean earlier has continued to do damage because he had to rotate up. He was a little bit late. In fact, had no impact on that fight whatsoever. But Frankel is just setting up these fights really well with Stay a While and Listen, like I was mentioning in the draft. It's such a powerful combo. Phoenix doing so much consistent damage as well. This is, I feel like, the first draft Miracle has had where they have just both sustained damage and finishing power, and that's what Phoenix and Li Ming are going to give you. And that's why some of these fights look like, uh-oh, it's not going so well until you hit that critical mass, which is literally what you know, Li Ming's reset is called in-game.
Fighting over the Dragon Knight is a big moment for Gen.G. They know they have to take this, but the bunker has to come down to save them. Took a lot of damage early, but a big pick on Mouthdale to make this a 4v5.
Yeah, that's actually quite huge because he had last rights. That could have been the extra damage they needed.
Yeah,
this
resets.
This should save Gen.G from this Dragon Knight. They should be able to stabilize here. However, no one knows that everyone's rotating up. Coach is taking this. Rotation is late.
Oh,
but the minion wave, they decide not to commit.
Yeah, Sniper's not really the flanker that they wanted, but the flip still comes through. Just kind of being annoying up there. Don't want to overcommit on a Gen.G. Tis, though, he's jumping in. A stun on a Phoenix. Very, very low. Huge stay a while again. Catches
Frankel
3.
wants it, man. He's going to get it.
Going for it. Sake now flipped right back over. And just like that, Miracle will flip the game back in their favor. In the meantime, Gen.G does get the Dragon Knight, but so many kills come back Miracle's way.
This is so huge. Like, these stay a while and listens when everyone is low on Miracle, leading to Frankel getting that opening pick. That's what this is all about. That's why they chose Li Ming for this composition.
Such a good combo.
And now Rich, yeah, he got the Dragon Knight, but he only hit the fort once, and he's basically just going to be taking turns kicking these members away from him as he just tries to limit what Miracle could do while his teammates' death timers tick down.
Yeah. A similarly ineffective Dragon Knight as well here for Gen.G. You know, Heroes, as opposed to maybe other games in the genre, very objective focus, but it feels like this has been probably the least effective objectives of every game that we've seen today.
Yeah, it's just been, honestly, Miracle baiting fights, using Stay a While and Listen so well that even though sometimes it looks like Gen.G is ahead and they should fight, like it looks like a fight that like, they absolutely should take this. Like, anyone watching that fight goes like, well, Gen.G wins this, right? Until the sleep hits, until Frankel physically just walks forward on his mount and says, "You are dead," to whoever is the lowest health member caught, and stay a while and listen. And then Gen.G just can't win the fight anymore after that. If they try, it gets worse and worse. So the Dragon Knight, again, ineffective. It feels like we're seeing a pattern here. We're seeing Miracle, bait a fight, win a fight, clean the lanes, go take neutral camp. It just continues over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Then the next time this happens, they're going to have 20, and that probably means Li Ming's repulsion. But with all these structures alive at this point, I would not be surprised that we see the rare Archon, because it can be very powerful when you're trying to finish off late game. I mean, look at this game. We're 15 minutes in, only 1 fort down. That's crazy.
A lot of damage on a Kyosha. You know, he's safe, but actually, look at this pick on a Tiz. There's the stay a while. Can they start the resets coming through? There's one kill. Can they find more? Rich, he's going to get salvoed there. Kyosha will be the next one to fall, theoretically, but can they find the death? The resets are not happening. Wolf.
But they have 20. They have 20. Let's see what he locks in. It's actually going to be Tall Rush. And with how this game is going, I totally respect that choice. As he's getting so many resets, he's getting so many combos off, that he's going to get even more damage, more value off of this. This is just a Siege Knight push. This is not even a Dragon Knight, but Gen.G's keep is under threat here. There's a second wave of Siege Knights coming down. Sure, the bot, or sorry, excuse me, the top that you see in picture is being threatened, but that is insignificant. 20's on the line here. Reset has to be cleansed. Good kite back here against that charge.
Yeah, good timing. He stays safe there in the back, and the siege continues here. The Giants coming through. I don't know if there's a whole lot left for Gen.G other than to commit to this, because their keep will fall.
Oh
here.
no, Reset's caught!
There's no cleanse here. Reset gets blown apart, and there's Li Ming going from one to the next, over and over again.
They've done it. They've done it again. Miracle will defeat Gen.G twice in Phase 2 this season. They are able to defeat the champions. They defeated Ballistics. They defeated Gen.G. Only Tempest remains in top 3 for them to take out. What a series. And finally, Miracle has really solidified their position in Korea. It took them 2 years, but now they can say they have defeated the world's best team.
For the second time, Miracle prevail, and once again, I hate to say it, but they live up to their name. A truly miraculous moment in HGC of all regions, right? Because every region has tried and failed to take on the Titans of Heroes of the Storm in Gen.G. One of the most flawless teams and lineups that we've ever seen in Heroes of the Storm, and Miracle take them out for the second time.
It's like a Cinderella story here as well in a lot of ways. Look at the scene here as Rich and Kocha browse through stats that we're going to